Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmalitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Hishikeshendriyatmane Namaha Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nibritatmane Swargapavargadvaraya Nityam Suchi Sade Namah Namah Hiranyaviryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave. So today we are continuing with the topic of disrespecting and disobeying the spiritual master. This includes both the Diksha and the Siksha Gurus. There are many Siksha Gurus while there is one Diksha Guru. So we would be discussing further on understanding the qualities of Guru, and by understanding such, we would also be able to meditate on such qualities and be able to develop the affection, the love, and the surrender that is required in our relationship with the spiritual master. So, beginning of the chapter, Srila Haridas Thakur replies to the Lord. He says, the soul travels through many lifetimes in different bodies and at last gets the chance of a rare human birth, which is auspicious in every respect. The soul has rotated through 8,400,000 different species. By Agyata Sukriti, or involuntary pious activities, the soul finally attains a human body. A birth in the human form is most uncommon because only in that body are spiritual activities possible, not in any other species. A demigod or denizen of the heavenly planets is destined only to enjoy the reactions of his past activities. He cannot voluntarily initiate any saintly activities. Animals are likewise bound by karmic reactions and are too steeped in gross ignorance to undertake any pious activities independently. The human birth alone is most conducive for spiritual life and for service to the Supreme Lord. So this is the beginning of the dialogue which Srila Haridas Thakur has with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the topic of understanding Sri Guru. Now, before we go deeper into aparad, or rather the disobeying of the spiritual master, or the fact that we are completely dependent on the spiritual master and any form of disrespect can practically uproot all progress. All of this will be known only if we are able to appreciate the nature of the spiritual master. Only if we are able to appreciate the position of the spiritual master can we ever come close to having this understanding of where things can particularly go wrong. Just as much as while we were talking earlier on about having no fear of committing Vaishnav aparad is because we have no value assigned to the mercy that's been bestowed upon us. Similarly, if we do not have an understanding of the value of the manifestation of Sri Guru in our lives, we would always be prone to committing aparad. Because by nature, we are offensive. If we were not offensive, we would be chanting the pure name. So the extension of offenses from Vaishnav to scriptural misunderstanding to disrespecting the Guru is a natural course. It's almost as if once you start sliding, the slide will be quite rapid. Okay? It starts with Vaishnava Aparad, but then Guru Aparad is also something which can happen quite easily. Now, last week we began the discussion on Sri Guru Vandana, and we said that the Guru Vandana, which is a prayer that we offer in the morning, the first prayer that we offer is Guru Ashtaka, and then we offer the prayer of Sri Guru Vandana, where we worship the Achamurti of Srila Prabhupada. And this has been authored by Sri Narottam Das Thakur in his book Prema Bhakti Chandrika. Now let us dwell a few minutes on understanding this particular poem or prayer, because this prayer has everything that we need to know about the potency and the importance of Sri Guru in our lives. And this was the reason why Srila Prabhupada instituted that we should begin our day by worshipping the Guru by using this prayer. Okay? So the first part of this prayer says, Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma. Bando Mui Savadana Mate, Jahara Prasade Bai, E Baba Toriya Jai, Krishna Prapti Hoi Jaha Hoite. Shri Guru Charana Padma. First, we have to understand the word Shri. When we use the word Shri and we precede Guru with Shri, it means that the Guru is always manifest. Shri cannot be used preceding someone who is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. When we use Shri, it means that the Guru is always manifest. Even if the Guru is not in the physical form next to us, he is manifest. That is the meaning of Shri. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, 8th chapter, I'm not sure about the verse, it is the 8th chapter, Sri Mahalakshmi appears after the churning of the ocean. And when she appears, she goes around wanting to garland the Lord. But while she appears and she chooses the garland, she walks around, she looks at different personalities, she starts qualifying them, or rather Srimad Bhagavatam discusses the qualifications of those present. So there are various qualities which she talks about. She talks about the fact that it is very important that someone has to be eternal. But then even if they're eternal, they have to be engaged in auspicious activities. Okay? So she goes around and finally she garlands the Supreme Lord. So eternality is associated with Lakshmi, Shri. Shuddha Sattva. Eternality is associated with Lakshmi, isn't it? So as a consequence, when we use the word Shri Guru, it means that he is always manifest, because the word Shri means that he is always manifest. Now the next word, Shri Guru Charana Padma, is very significant. The lotus feet of Guru, rather we use the word lotus feet. Why do we say Charan Padma? Why do we use the word Padma? Because we want to understand the nature of the lotus feet of Guru. Why do we use the word Padma? Now, Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj, one of our preeminent disciples of Srila Prabhupada, very unfortunate for most of us that he left his body in 1995 in Sridham Mayapur. And he is considered to be the Acharya of Gaur Leela amongst the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. The depth and the love he had for Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is unprecedented. And one who even comes in touch with him through his classes, through his books, will develop such affection for Gauranga Mahaprabhu. It's a guarantee. Now, Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj made this wonderful, beautiful comparison of this particular verse of Guru Charana Padma. Why should the spiritual master's feet be connected to the lotus? What is so special about the lotus? So he compared the disciples or the jiva to the bumblebee. Now this bumblebee, the jiva, is moving around Brahmand, which is the entire creation, through his activities. Finally, through great good fortune, he comes in touch with the mercy of a pure devotee. Okay? So while he is moving around, what does the bumblebee do? He is searching for honey. And since he goes from one plant to the other, he also approaches the plant called the Ketaki plant. Now, it is apparent that this particular plant has many thorns surrounding it, but also has honey, just as the rose has thorns, but also has honey. So when the bumblebee approaches this plant, wanting to seek pleasure, because the jiva is a pleasure seeker by nature. We are all pleasure seekers by nature. We don't look for suffering. We are all constantly looking to engage in seeking pleasure. So it's no surprise that this particular example, when we choose a bumblebee, the bumblebee is looking to engage in pleasure-seeking activity. So he's searching and he reaches this Ketaki flower. This Ketaki flower has thorns. So by the time the bumblebee reaches the flower and wants to drink a few drops of nectar which is available in the flower, the thorns also shred the wings of the bumblebee. Sometimes they hurt the bumblebee, and sometimes the bumblebee suffers so intensely. Now, the suffering of the bumblebee, when it comes in search of different types of nectar, is compared to the three different types of afflictions or kleshas that one experiences in the material world. So we experience adhyatmic afflictions caused upon us by our own defects, our own shadripus, our own deficiencies and offensive mentality. Then you have adi, bautik, which is the affliction caused by other jivas. So you could have problems from your neighbor, boss, whatever the case may be, relationships. And then you have afflictions caused by the devas, such as the tsunamis and the storms and the earthquakes, all natural occurrences, being too hot, too cold, climatic changes which afflict us. Now, all of these are a part of the three different types of kleshas. And this is compared to the suffering the bumblebee goes through when he tries to engage in drinking honey from the ketaki flower. Because the ketaki flower has honey, yes, there is pleasure, but that pleasure is associated and comes at a price. And that price is that it completely shreds the body of the bumblebee if it were to come close to it to drink honey. So this is the nature of the jiva. He is moving around, or she is moving around, moving from one particular plant to the other, one particular birth to the other, searching for pleasure. And in that process, he or she suffers the kleshas, or the three different types of afflictions. However, the jiva, or the bumblebee, who is very fortunate, when he approaches the lotus flower does not have any thorns. And the lotus flower has some very, very special honey. So when he approaches the lotus flower, he is able to fully engage in the nectarian pastime of drinking from the lotus flower. And there is a special quality about this honey. It is called Padma Madhu. Padma is lotus, Guru Padma, right? We call Charana Padma. So it is, Padma is lotus. And this Padma Madhu, it is said by the Ayurvedic physicians, has different types of qualities. It has the quality of curing diseases of the eye. If someone has an affliction of the eye, they have some kind of an eye infection, right? The Padma Madhu is recommended by the Ayurvedic physicians to remove such an affliction. Okay. So what does it mean in the context of Guru Charana Padma? In the first position, it is positioned, the lotus feet of the Guru. We call it the lotus feet because the lotus always remains completely unafflicted by material energy or water. Isn't it? In one sense, the lotus is completely unaffected, even though it may be in a pond which is not so very clean. It's aloof. It is very aloof. The second is that just as the lotus derives its qualities, and rather it survives in water, it's fed by water, the lotus feet of the Guru also exist in an ocean, nectarian ocean of bhakti rasa. So the jiva, who is able to go very close to the particular lotus feet of Guru, is able to participate in completely becoming absorbed in the nectarian ocean of bhakti rasa which surrounds the lotus feet of Guru. And since the Padma Madhu, the honey which comes out of the lotus, has the ability to cure and provide succor, to provide a cure for the afflictions of the physical eye, which is vision. In a similar fashion, we also sing Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So he shines the torchlight of knowledge. One who takes deep shelter of the lotus feet of Guru has the ability to experience vision, Premanjana Churita, Bhakti Vilochana. He is able to see things which are very subtle. And because the Guru infuses in the heart of the disciple knowledge, he manifests knowledge in the heart of the sincere disciple. And as a consequence, the disciple is able to understand Tattva. He is able to understand Krishna. The disciple is able to prepare the heart to receive Krishna. So the affliction to the eye, the inability to be able to appreciate Tattva, the inability to be able to see Krishna is being cured by Padma Madhu, which comes and emanates from the lotus feet of the Guru. That is the reason why there's another comparison, because the real Madhu or honey which comes from the lotus has the ability to cure eye disease, the lotus feet of the Guru, the rasa that surrounds his lotus feet, has the ability to cure our disease of not being able to have a vision of reality which is supported by tattva, absolute reality. We cannot see absolute reality because unless the Guru manifests his kripa upon us. Now, we also talk about the fact that there are some very incurable diseases. The incurable diseases, in some cases, the person does not have the ability to even eat because the Agni Tattva, there are different types of Agni in the body. The digestive fire is the most important fire. And the reason being that if one is not able to feed themselves, and if the digestive fire is weak, they are unable to assimilate and derive the nutrients through the food they eat. And as a consequence, the sickness becomes very prevalent. They cannot destroy the toxins. The toxins begin accumulating. So the digestive fire becomes very weak and it starts affecting the rest of the body. Such a person who is very badly affected or afflicted has only one recommendation coming from the Ayurvedic practitioner or the Kaviraj. The Kaviraj says, have spoons of honey derived from the lotus. It is supposed to make everything fine. It is supposed to cure even incurable diseases, and it is supposed to provide, some kind of a nectarian or, the effect of being able to completely remove the afflictions to the body. So similar fashion, when Sri Guru's lotus feet, Guru Charana Padma, when the devotee or the bumblebee like Jiva is able to find shelter in the lotus feet of Sri Guru, and he is able to enjoy or rather drink the nectarian rasa of bhakti that surrounds the lotus feet of Sri Guru, which is not found anywhere else, can only be found in the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Such a fortunate Jiva also has the opportunity to cure physical afflictions. The three different types of kleshas, physical suffering is also cured. How? By instructions received from the spiritual master, one is able to realize the eternal identity as being above the physical body, above the mental state. And they're able to engage in the transcendental loving service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As a consequence, the afflictions to the body are also melted away by the mercy derived at the lotus feet of Sri Guru, which is also compared. Again, the word Padma has so much significance. We use that word quite lightly, but it has so much significance when it is associated, because we also say that Krishna manifests in the hot lotus. Those who practice yoga, they are able to visualize, or rather, they are able to experience Krishna in the hot lotus. And I'm not talking about the modern day yogis, the hatha yogis. I'm talking about those who want to approach Krishna through the process of yoga, like Sri Narad Muni in his previous birth, when he received the remnants of the Bhakti Vedantas, when he received the remnants of the sadhus, and he was enlightened, he received mantras, and by the will of providence, he was completely rendered alone in the world, and he went to the forest, and he started meditating on the mantra, and the Lord appeared in his lotus. The hot lotus, the Lord himself appeared. So we use the word lotus where the Lord's lotus feet are found on the lotus, the hot lotus. Sri Guru's lotus feet, or rather the feet of Guru, is Guru Charana Padma in the lotus. So lotus is such an important thing. That's the other second part to it. The first, we looked at the fact that we move around the world and finally we find shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru with all our afflictions, right? One who is really able to appreciate the bhakti rasa found at the lotus feet of Sri Guru is one who has become tired of material energy, right? One has to become tired of material energy to be able to appreciate spiritual energy. That's a pre-qualification for being able to take up spiritual life. That tiredness can occur in a previous lifetime, or it may occur in this particular lifetime if one has to experience real bhakti rasa. So sometimes people take off and they're born tired of material energy. They don't really engage too much with material energy. They're already fixed in their sadhana. They're able to move forward. Because Shuddha Bhakti, the fact of practicing Shuddha Bhakti is an adhikar. It is not something which everybody can have. It is an adhikar. And that adhikar can only come by the lotus feet of Guru, where the Guru decides to provide that adhikar, because we don't have that adhikar. Early on, in the early days, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class, and he spoke of the fact that people can have karma adhikar, people can have jnana adhikar, but Shuddha Bhakti adhikar, the adhikar or the authority to engage in deep, deep sadhana, to have ruchi in chanting the holy names, is a rarity. It is not something which everybody has. You can look up the Srimad Bhagavatam and you will find instances that Dhruva Maharaj did not have it. He was given the adhikar by Narad Muni. Right? Can you imagine? Someone as determined and focused as Sri Dhruva Maharaj did not have Shuddha Bhakti adhikar. He was given that opportunity. Similarly, you find further out Gajendra. He was given that opportunity. The adhikar was given. The association of the Lord's servants, the Mahabhagavatas, adhikar is given so that one may be able to practice, sadhana, so that they may engage in the bhakti of Shuddha Bhakti. So, it is only at the lotus feet of Sri Guru that one is able to associate and be able to get Shuddha Bhakti, and this happens, and as a pre-qualification, there has to be material exhaustion. There has to be material exhaustion. One cannot keep both energies fully active. There has to be exhaustion. This does not mean that one becomes ineffective in their worldly duties. It means that there has to be some disaffection. It cannot happen that one can be fully engaged. I love this and I want this. I have all kinds of desires. I have a desire for, position, fame, name, all those things, and yet I want to be able to chant. It will not happen. It cannot happen. There is a rule that it will not happen. One cannot have both things happening at the same time. One has to realize that. One has to be able to monitor themselves. Okay? We might be able to say that it is okay to have that, it is okay to have that. And that is the reason why devotees also struggle for 20 years. They chant and they don't develop real taste. You cannot develop real taste unless there's material exhaustion. One cannot have both. And material exhaustion does not mean inefficiency. It means one has to understand tattva. One has to understand what is material nature and what is spiritual nature, and one has to choose between the two. Okay? One has to choose between the two and ensure that we are not afflicted. So now a very, very fortunate soul comes and falls at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Just as much as the lotus opens up when there's sunlight and then closes at sundown, when there is aparad to the lotus feet of Guru, everything shuts down. Everything shuts down when there is aparad at the lotus feet of Guru, because the lotus closes at sundown. Sunset and the lotus closes. Sunrise, the lotus blooms. Everything shuts down when a jiva commits aparad at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Sri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakti Sadma. Kevala Bhakti, unalloyed devotion, is the gift of one who can take deep shelter of the spiritual master. It is only by the mercy of the spiritual master that one can obtain Krishna. We spoke last week and we also said that Krishna, right? Krishna attracts through two different forms. Krishna attracts through the holy names. Krishna attracts through Guru Rupa. So in the Chaitanya Chaitamrita we have Guru Krishna Rupa Hana Shastrera Praman. Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karena Bhakta Gane. Right? What does it mean? It means Guru, according to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures. The spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. Okay? Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. So the spiritual master is the manifested form of Nityananda Ram. He is the Adi Guru. He is the origin of all spiritual masters, and Sri Nityananda Ram appears in our life as Siksha and Diksha Guru. He appears in both ways to encourage one for them to be able to proceed towards the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga. That is the function of Lord Nityananda. Lord Gauranga did not keep anything with him. During Gaur Leela, he did not keep anything with him. He gave the entire Kripa Shakti to Nityananda Ram. He wanted to engage in bhajan, and Lord Nityananda, being in the mood of Balaram, did not want to disturb the bhajan and the extraordinary confidential dealings of Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri, he just took over the preaching mission and empowered whoever wanted to preach. And Lord Gauranga gave the entire Kripa Shakti to Lord Nityananda. So Sri Guru is a manifestation of Lord Nityananda. And it is also said that Lord Nityananda, who is none other than the Super Soul, is also the external manifestation of Guru. The Super Soul within our heart is an expansion of the expansion of Lord Nityananda. So he understands our heart. When we mature in our ability to cry for mercy, Lord Nityananda, who is in the heart as a Super Soul, manifests externally in the form of the spiritual master. The external manifestation in the form of the spiritual master occurs when Lord Nityananda observes that the jiva is sincere in crying. It is very critical. Just as a child cries for mercy, when a jiva cries for mercy, that is the only time Lord Nityananda moves. So he starts manifesting the presence of himself externally as the spiritual master, the instructing as well as the initiating spiritual master, both spiritual masters. So now, we also said that at sunset, the lotus closes. When there is Guru Aparad, when there is disobeying the instructions of the spiritual master and hurting his feelings, or when we doubt the potency of the spiritual master, then we also get into deep trouble. Because there's really no shelter. There's no shelter. The spiritual master is extraordinarily merciful. Okay, what we also say in this prayer, we also say that Janme Janme Prabhu se, right? Chakudan Diloje Janme Janme Prabhu se. Even before that, what do we hear? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koryaikya. So he attracts through speaking Krishna Katha, isn't it? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koryaikya. He is attracting us by speaking Krishna Katha. So Krishna attracts us through the holy names, he attracts us through the form of Guru. When we hear the Guru speak, then we are attracted. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Koryaikya. Arana Koriho Mane Asa. Shri Guru Charane Rati. Ese Uttama Gati. Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asa. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. It is a fact. It is a fact. All desires are fulfilled because if we develop deep attachment to the lotus feet of Sri Guru, we will develop deep attachment to chanting the holy names. Real life begins when there is Guru Nishta. Nishta, the word Nishta, is a stage, being fixed. What does being fixed mean? Where do we get fixed? After Anartha Nivritti, we get fixed at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. So Nishta that follows is being fixed at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. And then at that stage, when the jiva is very fortunate, the Guru reveals his eternal form. He reveals his eternal form as the eternal associate of Krishna. And at that point, the relationship between the disciple and the Guru is completely enhanced to the point where the disciple can see nothing but Guru. It is almost an opportunity where even Krishna goes to the sideline for some time, because that personality who shines forth is always available in the spiritual sky and is dealing with his devotees. Now we are talking about the fact, we also sing Janme Janme Prabhu Se. What does it mean? Does it mean that for every birth that we take, that the Guru has to come back to this planet? In other words, we leave the planet without completing our sadhana, without receiving the full fruits of our sadhana, without completing reaching the conclusion of our sadhana. Does it mean that our Guru has to come back again and again? The answer is yes and no. In some cases, it is true. The Guru does come back in special cases, especially when the disciple is very sincere. He does come back. Now, how does it work? The Sadguru is a Guru who is fully matured. Every Guru is very auspicious. We're talking about Sadguru. Sadguru is completely matured in his consciousness, and he has attained the fruit of his sadhana. When such a guru departs to the spiritual sky, in addition to interacting with the in addition to interacting with the super soul, the disciple has the opportunity and contact with such a Sadguru. That contact becomes very profound when the guru departs. Why? Because the guru, even though being in the spiritual sky, monitors a very sincere disciple. So there is Sadguru and there is Sad Shishya. Okay? Very sincere disciple, very sincere guru. That relationship, the guru begins monitoring. Then the guru begins monitoring and guiding, even though the guru is not manifest. That's the reason we use the word Shri. Shri Guru. He is always manifest. He is never unmanifest. Even if we were to physically leave the planet, he is fully manifest in our hearts. First as the spiritual master, the super soul. Second, as the Sadguru. If he is fully completed his sadhana, he has the ability to direct our wanderings in this planet from the spiritual sky. So Janme Janme Prabhu say he has the ability to direct us. He could motivate a good Vaishnav whom we are attracted to give us further guidance. That's how it is Janme Janme Prabhu say. He can make the arrangements for our spiritual life to continue. It's a transcendental process. It is perfect and it is quite intricate. He has the ability to petition the demigods when the disciple leaves his body. He has the ability to direct the soul who was a disciple to different bodies based on what is really required for that specific jiva to make further advancement. So this person who comes into our life as Sri Guru Charana Padma is the only connection. It is such an important, profound connection. And when I use the word Sri Guru Charana Padma, I'm including both instructing and the Diksha Gurus. Because in many, many cases, we have many, many Siksha Gurus. We receive Siksha from so many different personalities. And we also have one Diksha Guru. So these prayers and all Tattva which is related to Guru Tattva, whenever we use the word of Guru Tattva, we are indicating both. So we should be very careful in both instances because both instances are manifestation of Lord Nityananda Ram. It is His mercy because both cases attract us to Krishna. Both cases, in both situations, we are directed to serve the lotus feet of the divine couple based on our propensity. We receive instructions, we also receive mantras, so on and so forth. Okay? So this is our only route. Whenever we violate this specific relationship due to our weaknesses, then we lose everything because one may not be able to chant unless they have complete mercy from Sri Guru. Okay, we spoke of the fact that Guru Nishta is when life begins because Anatta Nivati is over, all the gross afflictions are over, all the gross bad habits are done with, and then now very, very subtle, instances of negativities remain, which eventually go away by the mercy of the Lord. But this is the great good fortune of just coming in touch with Guru. Not everybody who is born receives the connection of Guru. You should remember that. Not everybody who is born receives such a connection. It's very rare. It's very rare. We might think that we know many, many who have received connections with Lord Chaitanya through his servants, especially in the form of Guru. The fact is, it's a minority when you take comparison of the total number of human beings even on the planet. What to say of counting the creation? It's a minority. It's such a minority, it's incredible. Now, we also say Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana. This is very specifically directed towards Srila Lokanath Goswami, who is the Guru of Sri Narottam Das Thakur. Ha ha Prabhu Korodaya Deho More Padachaya Ebe Jasa Gushu Tribhuvana. Even before this, there's also this word, right? What is this word? Right in the beginning. Shri Guru Charana Padme Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bandho Mui, right? Bandho Mui Savadana Mate. Particularly, we're talking about Vandana here. 3 different types of Vandana. Vandana through the process of the body, paying obeisances to the Guru. So when we start our day with this potent prayer, completely becoming absorbed in the nectarian meaning of this prayer, then our day would be perfect because we come under the protective glance of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. So the first type of vandana is physical prayer, physical seva. So we particularly pay obeisances and render service to the lotus feet of Sri Guru. The second is through words, glorification of Sri Guru through our words, and also by being able to repeat his words. The third is the mind. So body, mind, words. Vandana is of three different types. That is what we are talking about when we say Bandhomai. Right? Three different types of vandana. Okay? So Sri Guru Charana Padma. Now understanding that this personality or personalities who have come into our life are directly being managed by Lord Nityananda Ram is the key for our advancement. When we start understanding mercy in relationship to Lord Nityananda, we would be able to better appreciate the different connections. We would also understand that the adhikar to perform Shuddha Bhakti Bhajan is very, very rare. It is very rare. It is an adhikar, it's an authority. It is rare even in terms of scriptural insight. We see about it. Even Sri Uddhava, the very close associate of Krishna, who was very dear to Krishna, was a Jnana Bhakta. What to say, Dhruva Maharaj. Karma. His adhikar was to perform karma, but then he got around to doing more. We read about it in the Bhagavad Gita as well. So the idea of being able to sit and call upon the holy names in the moment of Lord Chaitanya, being connected to Lord Chaitanya, is such a rarity that one cannot, it's inconceivable. It's inconceivable for anyone to even make an assessment of that extraordinary opportunity. It's inconceivable. It's very rare to get this adhikar for us to be able to develop taste. If one is very fortunate and they are able to develop taste in chanting the holy names, then they have attained what very few can possibly attain. And this can happen when one cries out. And this crying out at the lotus feet of Sri Guru, at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, if you're not initiated, Srila Prabhupada, even if you're initiated, Srila Prabhupada, because everybody can cry at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, to develop taste in chanting and to become fixed at the lotus feet of Sri Guru, developing Guru Nishta, which one requires to be able to make any progress and to develop some ruchi. These are all good fortune, and all this good fortune gets thrown away when we do not understand the value or the rarity of the gift that has been obtained. So that was the whole purpose. And Srila Prabhupada gave us this prayer so that we could reflect on it. Study the lives of our acharyas. Study the lives of our acharyas and understand their behavior and their relationship to their respective gurus. Understand how serious everything was those days. And how fortunate, or rather, what they thought of themselves. People used to faint when they used to see their guru. I'm not talking about pretending, but the point is, that was how intense this contact was with even the spiritual master, not being accepted, so on and so forth. Everything was so intense and so very, focused for the devotees in Gaur Leela. When we read about it, it's fascinating. And how merciful the arrangements are. Look at Dhruva Maharaj. 5-year-old, goes away into a forest. And then whom does he get? He gets Sri Narad Muni. Sri Narad Muni finds him. Krishna's arrangement. What is said here? Krishna makes the arrangement. He sees that someone is sincere. And look at the quality of Dhruva Maharaj. Extraordinary determination. Unwavering. He has complete faith in his mother. First, his stepmother says, you will not be able to sit on your father's lap until you get the blessings of Sri Narayana, and then you come and you're born from me. You take birth through my womb. So he takes that. Siksha has been given. It is inauspicious circumstances, but Siksha was valid because it is connected to Tattva. So he goes with this news to his mother. His mother is so exalted, his biological mother. that she is not bothered by the fact that her son has been asked to die. Why? Because the stepmother tells him that unless you leave your body, come back, and you're born in my womb, you will not be able to enjoy the privilege of being able to sit in your father's lap. So the enviousness of the stepmother was wanting Dhruva Maharaj to leave his body. But the instruction was go seek the mercy of Lord Narayan, which is fantastic. So there was tattva, there was absolute reality, the truth was shared. He goes and then passes on this information to his biological mother. And she is so exalted that she does not annul that instruction. She understands that, oh, this is tattva, this is reality. She says, yes, your stepmother is correct. Yes. Narayana is the only shelter. Yes. You have to pray to him. He is the only shelter. So the stepmother gives him instruction with enviousness, but she gives him the right instructions. The real mother does not view the instructions of, or the nature of the instruction, or rather the circumstances, but views the instruction itself and says, yes, these instructions are very good because everybody has to pray to Lord Narayana. Everybody has to chant the holy names. So she says, yes, it is tattva. I cannot disagree with reality. So she says, yes, that is recommended. So he goes with this determination, and when this determination comes for chanting the holy names, who is sent by Krishna? Sri Narad Muni himself, the most exalted of Vaishnavas, is sent to him as a spiritual master. So this manifestation is automatic, it's organic. It is not inorganic. One needs to develop sincerity, one needs to develop the desire, and automatically whatever has to happen will happen because Krishna is in the heart. Lord Nityananda is in the heart. He will make all arrangements. And we should also remember that once the arrangements are made, it is just the beginning. Okay? Our relationship with our Guru is Janme Janme Prabhu Se. It's an eternal relationship because Sri Guru is eternal. It's an eternal manifestation. So how important is that relationship, and how important is it for us to be able to take it up on our heads, the instructions given by them? How important it is for us to constantly ensure that we are not violating the tenets given out by them. All forms of instructions. So this is how we understand that disrespecting the spiritual master will occur if there has been Vaishnava aparad, because we are also disturbing tattva there. That's reality that Vaishnava is completely taken shelter of Krishna. If you disturb things there, then we will forget that Krishna is supreme. If we disturb things in understanding who Krishna is in terms of his hierarchy, then we will become disrespectful of the spiritual master, because this is the primary instruction of the spiritual master. The primary instruction of the spiritual master is Krishna is supreme. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. There is no other instruction. He said, go surrender to Krishna. So we immediately begin violating that instruction as well. So it's almost a slide which cannot be stopped. Okay? So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to see if you have any questions. Unfortunately, I had not turned this on. I'm going to give a minute or so if you have any questions that I can help with. You can also communicate via Facebook, Messenger, if you have access to it, because I also watch for questions there. If you cannot communicate through, the Google event, you can also do that. So there's a question from Mother Vilas Manjari. Much gratitude towards this class on Sri Guru and Sadguru. Those who are initiated by Guru already have adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti in unmanifested form received at the time of initiation. So that's a question. Well, Shuddha Bhakti is an adhikar in the sense, yes. That is the adhikar given by the Guru while we are getting initiated. Yes. The Guru makes the arrangement for us to be able to move forward. So he gives us adhikar based on our propensities. And Shuddha Bhakti adhikar is surely given at the time of initiation for us to be able to take it up. But are we going to take it up? Are we going to take it up and become real sadhakas, understanding the mercy that's been provided in this lifetime? Are we going to postpone this particular opportunity to the subsequent lifetime or the one after? That's up to us. He gives us the adhikar. He gives us the adhikar. Sometimes we take an entire lifetime just to clear out the nonsense that prevents us from being who we are. Okay? So how do we clear this out? How do we make sure that we are properly aligned? Only by crying out. Follow the instructions given. Call upon Nama Prabhu, call upon the holy names so that we may develop the ability to chant and to be able to understand the instructions of Guru. Beg the holy names to surrender to Guru. Beg the Guru for surrender to the holy names. Krishna attracts us through both of these routes. So the question asked by, I think, Mother Saujanya is, what if there is a conflict between instructions given by Siksha Guru and Diksha Guru? In reality, when you receive instructions from Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru, it is all based on Tattva. It is based on spiritual reality. It is a manifestation of spiritual reality where they come in touch with Shastra and they give you instructions based on Shastra. Okay? If there is a difference between our understanding of these instructions, very honest, sincere disciples can bring it forth and share it with either or both of them to clarify what the instructions are. Okay? Because they give instructions based on Shastric conclusions and based on the realization of what the disciple needs to do. Okay? So it's a matter of cooperation. So it is not a matter of competition between Siksha and Diksha. It is a matter of cooperation. So if instructions are given, and if those instructions become conflicting, or we feel it is conflicting, it normally is not. If we feel it's a conflict, we should take it up with both of them, saying that I'm seeing this particular conflict. Because being honest and being able to put forth, every form of instruction given in a proper way is the way to go. That's how we do it. We should be able to have a dialogue because they are friends. They're very friendly. The interactions are very friendly, even though they might enforce discipline, right? Disciple means someone who is able to act according to the discipline given by the spiritual master. They can still bring things up and say that, you said this, but it seems to be a conflict. I would like to have deeper clarification. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. So it's not a competition. I've seen cases, in our process, we have 2 initiations. I've seen cases for the purpose of preaching, where the first initiation is given by one Diksha Guru, the second initiation is given by someone else. Why? Because the second person is more involved in the place where the disciple lives. As a consequence, the first initiation, whoever gave the first initiation, encourages the disciple to take second initiation from whoever is very active in preaching. The idea is to develop the mood that we are all assisting each other in serving Srila Prabhupada, to develop the mood that we are all assisting each other in serving Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And as a consequence, there's great cooperation and there's constant evaluation of whether we are putting other interests in place of our being able to cooperate nicely. So there should be no conflict in the first place. There can be misunderstanding of the instructions, at which point we clarify. It's not a material situation where someone says go left and the other person says go right. If they're proper Vaishnavas, they will have no problem in understanding where the conflict is and to resolve it. Let me check and see if there's any other question from anybody else. Hold on. Are there only Jiva Tattva, Shiva Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Vishnu Tattva? If so, the eternal associates of Lord Krishna, like his friends or parents or his Shaktis or his Sakis, are Jiva Tattvas? Some cases, yes, and in some cases, they are Vishnu Tattva as well. Like Balaram is Vishnu Tattva. In some cases, they're Jiva Tattva. It can be Shakti Tattva. These are only three different things. If Sri Guru is Tattva, then why do we recognize a Guru through body and there is Guru groupism seen today in ISKCON? If Sri Guru is Tattva, primarily Sri Guru is Tattva, but then he is representing himself through the physical form of the Diksha and Siksha Gurus. So yes, we do recognize that the Guru is manifesting, just as much as Krishna is manifesting in the form of the Archa Vigraha. Guru is manifesting through his physical body, and we serve Sri Guru. He is Bhagavat. We read Srimad Bhagavatam, we honor Srimad Bhagavatam, and we also serve the person Bhagavat, and that is Sri Guru. So both have to be taken into account. And Guru groupism, as seen today in ISKCON, as you are putting it, is an unfortunate reality. It is unfortunate where we have not fully understood Guru Tattva. If one has not fully understood the mission of Lord Chaitanya, one has not fully understood Srila Prabhupada's offering, then there's groupism, where we start competing to the point of hurting each other. We start forming groups to the point of, becoming dysfunctional. This is politics. And this is exactly what I meant by saying there is anarthas. These are anarthas. It is not such a wonderful thing. If this really exists, it is not such a wonderful thing. These are anarthas. As I also mentioned earlier, I was going to give an example, which I didn't, was, my spiritual master, when he was initiating, I have seen him give Harinam Diksha to some of my godbrothers from, I think it was Brazil. He was giving them Harinam Diksha, but then he directed them, even though they were attracted to taking second initiation from my spiritual master, he directed them to take second initiation from Gunagrahi Maharaj, because Srila Gunagrahi Swami was preaching in Argentina or Brazil, one of those places. And since he was preaching there, my Guru Maharaj wanted his disciples to cooperate with the specific servant of Srila Prabhupada who was in leadership and who was preaching, so that they could assist him in furthering the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So that is the mood of our spiritual masters. They cooperate wonderfully with the God brothers and God sisters and so on. But because of our anarthas, or the anarthas of the disciples, this politics of groupism forms, and this is not unusual. It has been happening for centuries. It has been happening for centuries. So it is not something which is just happening today and just happening in ISKCON. No, it's a disease that happens all the place. Because understand this, we come from seeing groupism and seeing politics in the corporate environment. We see groupism in our nature. And as a consequence, we bring the same mentality even into a devotional institution or spiritual institution. And since we have not given up such qualities, this unfortunate tendency exists, and it is very detrimental. It's very detrimental. It weakens our resolve. It weakens our faith. Hopefully, as time goes by, this will all dissolve by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. As more and more devotees become serious sadhakas, they become very serious in chanting the holy names. If you really ask me, there is no cure other than being able to follow the instructions given in the parampara, which is to chant the holy names very sincerely. There is no cure other than chanting the holy names. If one is sincere in chanting the holy names, their behavior would be very different. They would not be political. They cannot be political. You cannot be political. You cannot have sthana bilashi. You cannot have different types of aspirations while you're being given this mercy. It's all about someone who is still connected to material energy fully. They have not taken up the chanting of the holy names. So that's the answer. Yes, it's unfortunate. It is not supposed to be there, but it is one of the unfortunate circumstances of being a part of the material universe, that even spiritual institutions are afflicted. Hopefully, we will be able to resolve it by ensuring that we do not become party to such an effect. We chant sincerely and we do not do this. That should be our contribution to Srila Prabhupada. We don't add to the problems. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here if there are no more questions. So if there are any questions or any doubts that anybody may have, please write to me, or you may post under the class on sandini.com. I would be more than happy to assist you. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.